Good morning and welcome to Get Enlightened with me, Lauren Scott. Guys, I'm so excited because I have my dear friend Gabrielle here with me.
Hello.
Whoop, whoop. She is from Metamorphic, yoga movement.
Say that 3 times fast. Metamorphic movement. Metamorphic movement.
Metamorphic movement.
Yes.
Which is a yoga studio here in Granbury. She also does retreats. We're going to hear all about it. She used to work for me. We have been in each other's bubbles for a while now. So I'm so happy you're here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And let's start. I guess we've actually recorded together for a year now. And this is going to be the one that we're going to put out because we've been trying to figure out like how we were going to.
We need a blooper at the end of like a compilation of
Yeah.
all the things that we've said.
And every single one has always been recorded on Mercury retrograde.
Oh, yeah, it has. It has.
So here we are. It's going to be amazing. We're going to talk a little bit about yoga. And let's start off. Tell the world what it is that you do, how they can find you, all the goods.
Yeah, so I'm Gabrielle. I opened my studio here in Granbury in 2012, so we've been open for 2 years now. I host trauma-conscious yoga classes 6 days a week right now. Do yoga retreats all over the world. All of them have been sold out so far, which is I found my niche in the world.
Yes.
We have saunas here. We have massages, facials, microblading. I added my new girl Kelly in, so she's a fantastic asset to our team as well. Sound baths, Reiki, cranial sacral Reiki. There's just a lot of tools in my tool belt right now.
Well, let's go back and start at the beginning. What is trauma-based, and do they have to have trauma to come to yoga?
Well, if you don't think you have trauma, let's talk first. So trauma-conscious yoga is, if you've ever been to a yoga class where you have felt uncomfortable, most likely you are not going to a trauma-conscious yoga practice. So first things first is that we do not physically assist you. We don't adjust you. We don't change or take away from the shape that your body naturally wants to go in, because I am not an alignment fan. I don't think alignment is 100% necessary because everyone's body is so different. But I know what will hurt you and what won't. So I'm effective in teaching that on the mat. I think that we should be able as teachers, and this is also, I think, for a lot of people out in the world, is that our words should be concise enough to get across a message effectively without needing a physical reminder of it.
Yes.
And I know that some people definitely love that and they need that touch aspect in life. I am just not a touchy person, so it is inauthentic for me to do that. And another thing about our classes, I am very poignant on time. Class will start at 6 p.m. and it will end at 7 p.m. We are not starting late, starting early, ending over time, because that is also a trauma-conscious aspect of classes. So being poignant, being here, being present. And this can go, as far as into yoga for 12 steps and yoga for, rehab facilities. I have taught at rehab facilities before. And that's obviously a lot different than a group style class that I offer here. So there's a wheelhouse of it and it ranges in a spectrum, but basically it's letting your body move freely.
I love that. Yeah. And, I think it's interesting because as a studio owner myself, I always was really on the 50-50 of whether you touch or not, because I've actually been in yoga classes before where somebody has tried to touch me and actually hurt me.
Yes, and it pulls you out of the posture. You're like, oh, I'm doing something wrong.
Yes, instead of giving you the word to make yourself realize what kind of needs to be adjusted. And sometimes people are more hyperextended or...
Yes, hypermobile.
Yes, and so like you can't really have the same placement as the person next to you. So I think that's very beautiful that you give an opportunity to everybody in your classes. I will tell you, you are not only mine, but my husband's favorite yoga instructor ever, which says a lot because I've taken a lot of yoga.
Yes.
And definitely in the Hood County area, I'm always sending people to you because you not only your spirituality and your vibe that I love, but also the way that you really delve into your teaching.
Yeah. So, I had that spirituality, trauma-conscious yoga, which means we do not talk politics, religion during class. We don't dharma talk during the practice. I am not here to change your beliefs or, tell you to invite in whatever it is. It is a releasing practice and it is a physical practice. So that's where I keep it to.
I love that. And, because when I opened up my yoga studio, we really wanted to focus in on yoga and
how the tables turned.
Yeah. And there's that. So I think that it's really important that you're here in the community carrying that on. Definitely. Because it's just beautiful to see. And the very first time that we sat together, you were 19 years old, I think? It was 5 years ago.
18, yeah, what am I? 5 years ago.
You had...
Yeah. I was 20. Well, I think it was more. I think it was longer than that.
Was it? Shoot,
yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. So I'm 25 now.
2018.
Okay.
When you had called and we were fixing to open, and you were kind of my side man on the yoga situation, and I remember us sitting there and having a list, which I had found when I moved, that had like puppy yoga and retreats and everything that me and you really wanted to put out for the yoga studio. And guys, everything on that list has been completed by me and Gabrielle in the yoga community, on top of her now starting her own yoga studio, which is just amazing to me. At the time, I would have probably kicked your booty if...
I never thought I would open a studio, which is so funny. I did not want the responsibility because every studio I had worked at was so dramatic.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do that. And I'm so thankful that the people that I've attracted here, like,
there's no drama.
No, we're best friends.
Well, I think that, when I opened up the studio, I mean, there was a lot of drama there. I've shared with people, there's a lot of drama. Like, it was one of the most dramatic businesses I think I've ever been involved in, and that is going all over the world and speaking to Congress and politics and working for the NFL and NBA doing events. So that just tells you.
Can I cuss on here?
Yeah, of course.
I always say yoga bitches are something else.
They are. And, we all played into it. But I think one of the things that that gets kind of intertwined with that is it does attract people that are in need of healing.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you're kind of having to be, let's not say therapists, because we're not therapists.
100%.
But a guide. Yeah. Not only in the classroom, but sometimes outside of the classroom.
Well, we're a more accessible, in quote, not therapist, because, I mean, I've spent many years in therapy, and it's expensive, and it takes time, and it's grueling. When a yoga practice, for me, has done so much more for my mental health than 7 years of talk therapy did. So when they find that, they're like, oh, you can heal me. You can fix me. It's like, no, well, I can't. I don't want to. But some people can take that and really twist it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that we see that in the not only the spiritual world, but also in the yoga. The yoga world is that
guru.
Switch, yes, that guru mentality of I'm your guru. So I love coming to your classes and seeing that still you're like, I'm not your guru. Yeah. I'm just here to do yoga.
Please, you do not want my life.
Now, what got you involved in yoga?
Oh, great. So my sister's dad, Mark, but even before that, I had brain surgery when I was 14. Crazy life accident. It's funny, I was talking to my fiance last night. I was like, I wonder what would have happened to me if that moment, like the butterfly effect, what would have been my life now if I wouldn't have had brain surgery at 14. I probably would have gone off to play professional sports. Who knows what I would have done. But I was bedridden for 6 months, and I lost like 80% of my muscle mass. So I was just skin and bones, and was really struggling with motor skills and just the ability to have energy. I was so lethargic. No one told me like what long-term TBI effect was, so I had no idea. Didn't have any PT afterwards as well. I don't think my parents could afford it. And then luckily, along the way, I found Mark, who was opening a yoga studio in Stephenville, and was like, hey, I think this would help you. Do you want a new job? And I was like, God, yes, I do. I'll work, I'll do whatever. He was like, I just need someone to like clean the floors and like do payroll. So do you want to manage this place? And I was like, I'm 18 years old. I can do anything I want to. Good God have mercy. I had no idea what I was doing. So my first interaction with yoga was managing a yoga studio. And I think that was such a good little piece of nugget the universe gave me to be like, hey, this is actually what your life is going to be like. So prepare. I'm putting you in the hard way so that way you learn things. And then I fell in love with yoga. I obviously had to modify quite a bit for my body. And I had some really good teachers that helped me along the way. And then I took my teacher training in 2019, but I actually was teaching before. I was teaching without a certificate, which a lot of people do anyways. But I was teaching like a little core strength class. And then, God, here we are now.
I know.
I have like 10,000 teaching hours.
It's insane. It's insane. And you're doing yoga teacher training. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So right now I'm finishing up this next round of 300-hour training in September, which I'm really excited about. I'm doing a connection of yoga and ADHD in the autistic community.
Ooh, I love that.
Super fascinated about how the brain works with yoga and yoga for 12 steps. Like, that's happening. And then next July and August, I'm actually breaking up my teacher training into a new module. So a lot of people, I would say 85% of people who do a teacher training do it just because they want to deepen their practice. Mm-hmm. And so I feel wrong in my soul to make them teach a yoga class, because why are they coming the whole time? So I'm breaking it up into 2 separate weeks. The first one is deepen your practice. The second one is how to teach yoga. And also, second part 2 can be if someone has taken a training anywhere else and they're like, oh, I want to know the metamorphic way and the trauma conscious way, mm-hmm. they can just take that part 2 if they already know how to teach or they know how to deepen their practice. Yeah. So it's going to be a nice little mix. I'm excited to see what happens there.
And do you do anything with kids?
I have done kid yoga before. I have always invite children into my yoga classes, so no age requirement to come, obviously with a supervised adult. But yeah, my sister's school, actually, I've done some big events, pre-K to 5th graders. That's a lot of energy to manage, kidding. But they love it. And also in, not Crowley, but Godly, I have another one coming up that's sound bath for kids. So I'm really excited to see how that goes.
Are you going to be doing that in the ISDs?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
You know, that was something that we were starting before I got sick in Granbury. I
want to bring it here. I want to see, because I know there's a lot of change now happening with like superintendent stuff. So maybe it'll be more accessible now.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good opportunity because the sound healing sessions and the sound baths are just amazing with the frequency and the research, the scientific research that goes behind it. It's one of my favorite things to do. And at first, and you can relate to this story because you were the same. We were taking the sound healing course. Do you remember this?
And how I hated sound bath.
She hated sound bath because it made a weird sound in her ears.
Well, it was the brain injury.
Yes.
And I still was, uncovering all of that. And they made me feel like I was wrong. Like something was wrong with me for not enjoying sound bath because it's supposed to be this relaxing experience. Like, no, actually, I had tinnitus in my ears and I had a brain injury and it was knocking things all sorts of ways.
Exactly. So now that you have all of that figured out,
yes.
you're teaching it in a calm way. And one of the ways that I like to do it is in the pools.
Oh, yes, a floating sound bath. Mm.
I have been doing those for friends and family.
Yes.
And it has been something that people just love.
People love it.
And I love it, to be honest with you.
I want to partake in one and not facilitate one.
For sure. It's hard as facilitators because just as well as I do. It's hard when you are the teacher of it to go to somebody else's class and actually relax and enjoy.
And all you're thinking about is, oh, what are they thinking? Mm-hmm. Oh, am I doing something wrong?
It's one of the things that I've been working on is finding that balance of, okay, I can return to my mat and not pick the teacher's stuff apart.
Yes.
Because as an owner, you're in and out of the classes watching the people who are teaching, and I've coached my whole life from cheerleading all the way up. So after I sold my studio, it was so hard to go to a class and really enjoy it because I'm like, they're not even doing that right.
And it's hard for me to practice in my own studio because I, in the business aspect of it, I'm thinking oh, well, are the students okay? Is the AC on the right temperature?
I know, isn't that wild?
Is the music, but if I go somewhere else, it's I don't care.
My whole reason of opening the studio, and this was when we first opened, so there was not a yoga studio in Granbury. There's never been a really actual yoga studio before the one that we opened. And people would ask if I got to enjoy the classes. My whole reason was to bring yoga closer to me so I didn't have to go to Fort Worth anymore.
Stressful.
And after that, I don't think I went to maybe a handful of classes. I just ran the business, Hence the reason why I say now I'm having to relearn my love of yoga.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Which I have to give it up to you because Gabrielle has definitely been the last year the one that's pushed me and helped me reconnect with my mat and find that the yoga community isn't as crazy as I thought it was when I left.
It's because now I have all these I've trained 30 people to do yoga, so hopefully that branch of the community is getting bigger too. But yeah, my online yoga too, like that's making it accessible for people as well.
Yes, let's talk about that because I don't like to leave my little bubble and gated community. And I had told her, I love you, but I don't want to always come to your studio. And she's like, Lauren, hold on, because I have this incredible thing that I'm launching. And she just launched it on 7/7, right? Was
7/7? You know, this woman, Angels with Fran, she's on Instagram. Look her up. Love her to bits and pieces. I do tarot for her, but she also just like gives me messages every now and then. And she was like, girl, why don't you have an online platform? And I had been so I was so anti online yoga because I don't know, stick up my butt maybe. But I was like, you know what?
She's a yoga snob.
I am. I was like, you can't practice at home safely. Like, oh my God. And it's because I didn't have enough. Baby yoga me or Libra me. I was like, you have to be in studio to get the vibe of it. Like all the yoga, like no shade to the yoga on YouTube, but if you type in yoga, there's gonna be one specific girl that pops up, and I don't enjoy your classes. And I was like, man, I feel like I could really do this.
It's hard to flow with her.
It's hard to flow. And I was like, you know what, I need to do it, because if I don't like something, I could make it better. Yeah. And this is why we always get along. Ever since COVID, the yoga community has changed 100%. It is not the same anymore, and it makes me really sad. People are still afraid to leave their house. People don't want to leave their house. I got very accustomed to staying at home, Lauren. And
guilty as charged.
And so making this online platform to where A, it was affordable, B, it made sense, and C, it's my yoga classes. People love my yoga classes. And I kept saying this for so long too, is that, you know, this is my studio and I have these really wonderful, amazing teachers, but still it's hard if I get a sub for my class. People, you know, they want to come to my class.
They want to come to yours.
Definitely. And I'm like, well, now I have this extra platform that doesn't go away. They can watch me whenever they want to. And so it saves me a little bit of mental fatigue from that as well. But yeah, on Patreon, Movement with Gabrielle, you can find me starting at $10 a month.
Yeah, and I mean it's an easy platform to follow. You know, some of those platforms are so hard to follow.
You literally scroll down, click a video, watch it,
and they're all good. I've done quite a few of them. That's how I've returned to my mat.
Yes.
So, what all do you have coming up? Anything special that we want to?
I have what do I have coming up? Sold out Marble Falls retreat in September. I am doing a retreat in the mountains next summer, but that is not posted yet. So just keep an eye out for that.
Y'all probably see me at that one.
Yeah. Teacher training next summer as well. And then, I mean, I'm getting married, but that's like, yeah.
Let's talk marriage.
Okay, let's talk marriage. Yeah.
So we got engaged.
Yes, in Hot Springs, of course. Arkansas is like, I feel like a Libra's home. Truthfully.
It is. You know, Hot Springs is a big crystal bed.
Yes.
Like it's literally a city on top of a crystal bed, and there's a reason why we're all connected to it.
Definitely, yeah. Found my person.
So how did it happen?
It was honestly, fun fact about me, I love a casino. I love a gamble. Oh my goodness me. Talk about Libra balancing scales, yoga and gambler. We were at the casino and I had run out of money and he gave me like $50 or something. He was like, hey, put it in a slot. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to marry you. And I say that all the time, but like, I guess it stuck. And so then we go to this little squeeze box pizza after, and went to the bathroom. He comes back and he's like all nervous. And he was like, so are we really getting married? And I was like, sure. And so we talk about it, then we go back to our Airbnb and he was like, let's pick a date. February? Nothing happens in February. And I was like, well, yeah. I was like, I want something that has like a repeating number. So 22525. So that's how that all happened. With no ring or anything. We went to like K Jeweler like a week later and just got like a gold band. So very simple Vegas wedding. It's going to be really chill, really fun. But I'm so grateful too that I found someone that like totally gets me.
And is your other half? How did y'all meet?
We met at a small business meetup in town, Rise and Grind.
A little networking event, network date.
Yeah, a little network date. And I was desperately seeking to leave a previous relationship. I was engaged. And I was like, universe, help me get out of here. Like, help me, give me a sign.
You ask and you shall receive.
And then the next day,
there's your sign.
There's my sign. I was like, oh my God.
We like to call that master manifesting.
Yep. And he's Gemini, so he gets it.
Oh, so he evens you out.
Libra moon, Taurus rising.
I like him. He's very nice.
Yes, he is.
He's a little scared of me sometimes. But
I love Jeremy. Yeah, he's wonderful.
Just kidding. He's not scared of me.
One of the greatest things that ever happened in my life, for sure. Yeah.
I just remember the very first time I met him, I like came up and I was at a party for my girlfriend's 50th and her anniversary. I'm like, oh my God. It wasn't, hi, I'm Lauren. It was like, oh my God, you're with Gabrielle. Like, he's probably like, oh, wow. Yes. That was a lot of energy. And it was Champagne Lauren, which we know.
Yes, my favorite.
She comes out and plays every now and then.
How long have you been married for?
We just celebrated 22 years last week.
Oh my God.
So 22 years married, 27 years together.
Wow.
Because, I had to go through college and all of that before. I'd gone off to Spain to model. Then I came back for college, finished it up, and immediately got married.
Aww.
And yeah. And, Aiden's 16 now, almost 17. He's driving. So it's just, I'm in a weird, different position.
Yeah.
Life cycle.
You had this really, I feel like, not volcanic, but almost like birth to early 30s, and then you hunkered down and you're like, you know what, let's calm down.
I got to do and experience so much early on,
which is so good,
and travel the world, and was really put into experience. I've probably lived what a lot of people, probably 3 or 4 different lifetimes.
Yes.
By the age of 43. And when I opened up the studio and then I got sick, I felt like it was one of those things of, okay, now it's your time to just chill.
Yeah.
I'm not having to prove myself anymore. Google me.
Yes.
We're good.
Look at my credentials.
Yeah, we're good on the credentials.
Yeah.
You can look at the pictures and see that they're true.
Yeah.
I didn't need to prove myself. And so when I turned 40 is when COVID happened, which it was such a life-changing event.
Yeah.
Everything shut down, and I sold out 3 or 4 weeks before.
Yeah.
So it was boom, boom. And then my life was completely different. And then it wrapped completely around my son and my husband and our relationship and our marriage and being a housewife, something that I never really wanted to do, but
here you are.
And it was the best thing ever that happened for me.
COVID was truly the best change of my life.
Yeah, and I hate saying that out loud, because I know for a lot of people it
horrible.
Deconstructed them in so many ways.
But I think the world needed it.
I do too, and I think that we're seeing kind of a replay start to happen right now.
Yeah.
Hence the reason why Gabrielle was actually going to be on for season 1, and we were going to be talking about her experience with
software underbelly and that interview,
and
how
a cult that I wasn't so much involved with, but she was involved with out in our area, and how she got away and how she started her own business. And I know I've been asked a lot by different people on why you didn't come in, so that's why I'm bringing this up. Yeah. But I really, after we did that interview, me and you both sat there and we're like, you know what?
Yeah.
I think we're over it.
Absolutely.
We're moving on. And she had done one with a guy who soft white underbelly. Where if y'all want to go see that, go ahead and shout that out.
Yeah. So Mark Leisha has a YouTube channel. He's got 6 million subscribers, and I was so fortunate to be able to fly out to LA and record my story. So it's on YouTube right now. If you type in "surviving trauma and chaos," Gabrielle, it'll pop up.
And it is a great story.
Thank you.
It is a great story, but
It's tragic.
It is tragic. Yeah. But it's a story that people need to hear.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to under or overshadow the way that it was done.
Definitely.
And so we have decided that we wanted to keep it a high vibe.
High vibes, yes. During this Mercury retrograde that has shaken up so much shit.
Yes. So we closed out that chapter
Definitely.
of our lives, moved on, and I think for the first time, and how long have you actually been able to breathe and realize your growth and transformation?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Well, I will say this is the first Mercury retrograde that I've, known of it at least. I've been, a big astrology buff for 9 years, but this is the first one where I haven't let the fear of oh God, I shouldn't do this or I should do that during this time. I'm going to do exactly what I feel called to do. And I feel empowered that this is a moment of reset, but also maybe a moment of mass intuition. And that's what the reset's for, is so that you can dive into your intuition. There's been a lot of change in my world too, just how I view myself, how I view the world. And that's the Libra scales bouncing from one end to the other. But I will say it took me a little over a year after I left to feel safe and like not
out of fight or flight.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's tough. That it took that much energy to get rid of it. But what a beautiful thing that you're here and
absolutely
healing from it and can share your story.
Yeah.
But in a positive light.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people, cults aren't actually, they're not uncommon. Like they are a common thing. All it takes is a narcissistic, leader and whatever. So I think a lot of people, get very shut down after that and viewing like, oh, well, I'm actually not this great big person if I was doing this and I was following these people. So I find it to be very freeing now, at least, to look back and be like, oh, well, that's the chapter of my story too. And I learned from that and I grew from it. And that's what I was put on this earth to do, is metamorphosize and grow.
Automatically. Yeah. So is that how you got your name?
Oh my gosh, no. Well, kind of. So my mom, she passed away when I was 15. It was actually 6 months after my brain surgery. So horrible time in my life then. But when I was, I guess, 2 or 3, one of the first like big words I said was metamorphosis. And I remember she was like so,
whoa.
She was like, this is in my baby book. She was like, oh my God, she just said the biggest word ever. And I love butterflies. Well, I was doing this meditation while I was still in this bad situation and sitting there like, man, like life is not good right now. Like, what do I need to do? Like, do I leave? Do I quit? Do I stop teaching yoga? And in this meditation, I'm sitting and this monarch butterfly flies up on my left forearm and I'm sitting in like the lotus pose. And it was my mom's voice. And it says, the movement that you're doing is metamorphic. Don't you ever stop.
Oh, wow. I just got chills.
Right? And I was like, metamorphic movement. Oh my God. And so even then I didn't know I was going to open my own studio. I was just calling my classes, oh, come to my metamorphic movement class.
Yeah.
Had no idea. And then when it came about that, I was like, oh, well, either, I don't teach anywhere, or I open my own space. I was like, well, what am I going to call it? Metamorphic movement.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know. So mama came in clutch with that one for sure. She, people pass and, maybe leave us messages, but when she leaves me a message, it's only been 3 times where I've actually physically heard her voice. It has been something so life-changing and altering. So I'm very grateful to have that connection, even though our connection alive was not good, but now it is.
Growth
and
transformation. Yeah, exactly. Now, your Reiki.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a little bit about that, because it is a little bit different than regular Reiki.
Yeah. This is such a good conversation. We could just have a whole hour on this.
Do it.
Man,
Let's do it.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I think some people are born with a gift of Reiki, and I think that some people have to really try at it. So not saying I'm like some special bird. I'm like, oh, like, yeah, I was born with Reiki. But my Reiki is so much different than anyone else's I've ever experienced. It's softer. It's not as like jolting. And I can see things so clearly. And I combine now, used to not always, but a little bit of cranial sacral work. So working more in the physical body as well. I think there needs to be a little bit of a deeper connection to, spirit, body, with Reiki, because it can be a little in the clouds, in the head.
So let's stop there real quick.
Yeah.
For those that don't know what Reiki is, or what you're talking about, like with the difference of body and in the head, let's start at what you're meaning by that.
Gotcha. So Reiki is a form of energy healing. It's a Japanese form of healing. And people say it's like, this is what Jesus did. I don't like to say that, because who knows what anyone has ever been doing.
Yeah.
But it's a way to connect. I like to view it as just sending love to the person, holding space for them. I am not healing them. I am not fixing them.
That's how I like to view it as well.
Not sewing up old scars. I am just holding space for their body to have the space to release, because if we're stuck in a state of fight or flight, we don't feel safe to ever let go. We hold our emotions in so deeply. So if you give a person the opportunity to let it go, like, the body can heal itself. And that's what we're doing. But then with that little bit of zhuzh of like, oh, actually, I love you. The universe loves you. What can that do to heal you? So the cranial sacral aspect of it is just basically like pressure points on the skull. And that has been such a game changer in my healing from my brain surgery as well.
I like that.
So good. So it's like this light little touch that's infused with Reiki just on the scalp, and then the rest of the body is just hands over, hovering, and just kind of sweeping away negative old energy and just inviting new energy in.
And if people wanted to get a session with you, where would they go?
Yes. So you can go to my website, Metamorphic Movement Yogaschool.com. Send me an email. Everything is on there listed. Click, call, connect. Super easy. But I do sessions right now Wednesdays and Sundays.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what else? You do tarot as well?
I do tarot, and I love tarot.
She's really good at tarot.
I'm really good at tarot. That's one thing I will say. Like I just had a client tell me that this last reading I gave her, everything happened exactly verbatim within 2 weeks of the reading.
Isn't that the best? I as well do tarot.
Yes.
And it is one of my favorite things.
It's so, and it jazzes me up. It gives me energy. I'm so excited to see what,
Well, and I love it when people come back, or like when you're in a session and like you're making a connection. I'm more of a channeler.
Yes.
So
the confirmation though.
The confirmation during the sessions, because sometimes, you think you're just freaking crazy when you're like talking to these people, knowing way more about their lives than they expect you to. And I don't like to ask questions before mine. So,
yes.
It's kind of a confirmation to myself of, okay, Spirit's speaking through me.
Definitely.
Well,
you can book a tarot with me anytime you want to, but let me talk about Lauren's channeling for a second. The first time I had a session with her, she's sitting there and she's like, I don't know if she's pulling cards, I don't know what she's doing. And she was like, who the hell is Alex? And I was like, oh my God. She's like, he's showing up in this ball of fire. This is when I won her over. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, out of the blue, this just came out of nowhere. I had a boyfriend in high school who died in a fiery car crash. And she picked up on that energy and was, gave me this really good confirming message about it. And it was so healing because I had not felt guilty, but I had a dream after he passed and he shows up at my door and he's like covered in these scars and he's burned. And I was like, what could I have done to like make this not happen? Like I felt this, I've always felt that. I had guilt about people dying. Everyone in my family's died. So I'm like, it's my fault.
Yeah.
Not true.
Well, that's also not a normal thing.
For sure. But she picked up on that. And so even now, like in meditation, like I'll see this ball of fire. I'm like, Lauren.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Yes.
I really appreciate that.
Of course. We all got gifts, sister. We got to share them.
I have done that since I was a child, and I didn't realize that it was channeling until I was probably going to college, and kind of got into like tarot, and I call them angel readings because I know there's like such a big thing on.
Tarot's evil, demonic.
Except, now with since 2020 and you have TikTok, it's kind
tarot
of it's become a norm. Like
Definitely.
People don't look at it as such a taboo.
Ooh.
Yeah, I promise I'm not evil.
Yes. Just channeling message. It's the same as Reiki, really.
It's really just opening yourself up and being able to understand what comes through. I mean, anybody can actually do it.
It's just opening yourself.
Opening yourself and feeling comfortable enough to learn and
receive,
which, that in itself is a gift. I know for me personally, Reiki is really hard to give for people because I used to pick up whatever I was working on.
I do prefer giving a tarot reading over a Reiki session.
Yeah, because touch for me is sometimes I see. So the way that I see, I don't know if I've really ever communicated this on the podcast, but it's kind of like one of those push. When we were a kid, you have those little kaleidoscope things, and you'd push them, and you'd see like different slides. So that's how it like drops in for me personally. So unfortunately, sometimes when I touch people,
oh my God, what is that?
So I have to guard my energy a lot. So really, Reiki and touching and like that has not always been my favorite thing.
I had to learn. I mean, I've been doing this like 5 years, and I feel just now comfortable to not absorb all this energy.
Yeah, I have now learned, but still it's just not my favorite because if I am off or
if you're having a bad day, I need to reschedule.
Yeah,
but tarot, any day, sister.
Yeah, I can flip a card and tell you what's going on with your day anytime, Okay, well, let's see. I feel like we've talked about so much today. Yeah. Well, let's talk about your retreats.
Yes.
What all do you do in your retreats? What is a day in the life of one of your retreats so people can go and book them.
Yes. So you wake up, have yourself a cup of coffee, enjoy a chef cook prepared meal, go to your first yoga class in the morning. You got some free time. So journal. I love to give journal prompts to my students there to let them, whatever they're trying to release. People go on retreats for healing. That's the goal, or relaxation. So giving them a prompt to journal about, and then free time to swim, to go hike. We're always surrounded by nature of some sort. Come back for your evening yoga class, another chef prepared dinner, and then night. And it's just, I take care of everything for you. That's the greatest thing. Like, you don't have to think when you're on retreat. Yeah. I tell you, I give you the itinerary. You just got to be there. And that's it.
And your price points?
Depends, man. So this next one I will do in Colorado. We'll probably start around $3,200, and that's for everything.
And that's for everything.
Yes.
And are they 5 days, 7 days?
I've done both. I think this next one will be 5 days.
And you have a chef that goes with you.
Yes, yeah. So that's changed too. I brought 2 different chefs. They've both been so good. But I think like having clean, good meals is such
I think it's really important,
vital
especially
part. And then a guest teacher, Kim, she will now be my forever teaching partner. Kim, she's wonderful. She's in Canada right now. I miss her. She's not teaching at the studio.
I love Kim.
I know.
Shout out to Kim.
Go Kim. But yeah, she's great. Retreats are so much fun. I love them. And I definitely feel at home when I teach them. Tulum was a little chaotic. It was definitely wild. And I think that's just the energy of Mexico in itself.
It is.
And it was so much fun though. So all the girls that came, and then Costa Rica, I mean, that changed my life in itself.
Costa Rica changed a lot of people's lives.
Oh my gosh. I want to go back.
Not saying anything negative about Tulum, but I think Costa Rica.
Tulum's a party vibe. Costa Rica's
it really
a
sealed
reset.
the deal for your first one specifically. I've heard nothing but.
I can never beat that.
Yeah. Unless we do one at Dominican Treehouse.
Right. Ooh. Yes. Yeah. Retreats are good. I just think my life now is all about balance. As a true Libra.
Yes. This is us together saying yes and shaking our head because you can't see it.
We need a video.
We are both Libras, by the way.
Yes. If you can't tell us talking over each other and on each other, yeah.
Well, I'm so happy that you're a part of my orbit. Thank you so much for getting on.
Of course.
And shout out your socials.
Yeah, so Instagram at Gabrielle.Kinser, same on Facebook. I do have a TikTok now that I posted like one video on, so I don't recommend that. But my YouTube, Movement with Gabrielle, and same with my Patreon, Movement with Gabrielle. But really Instagram, if you start there, you can find everything else.
Yes, and the Patreon guys, I'm serious. If you need like something to go, or if you're traveling a lot, that's really good too.
Definitely. $10 a month, cancel anytime.
You really can't
for
beat
you
it.
On demand.
You can't beat it, and you get kind of information and things that are happening.
First chances, first dibs.
Chances. Well, I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited that we reconnected.
God, me too.
And
life is so much fuller with you in it.
Yeah, same girl, same. I love you, and
love
thank you guys for listening to Get Enlightened with me, Lauren Scott. Thanks, Gabrielle.